in a moment of performance freak out, I ripped the head off the body of the guitar and threw it in, pulled all the strings out of the body, threw it into the audience, and then I threw the body of the guitar into the audience.
Made the best of it for sure.
And then later I was like, what the did I do to my guitar? Like,
Hello, people of the world. We're back with another Sam Sessions here in the Acoustic A Room. Today's a very special day. You got the world's worst interviewer here. And to my left, a very good friend of the shop, Shakey Graves.
That's right. Hi.
How you doing, Shaky? You feeling good today?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Sam. How are you?
Good stuff. I'm doing good, man. We're just, we're hanging out here. I think we've got about 13 of these down now, and we've been looking forward to doing yours since the very beginning. So
yeah.
It's an exciting day.
Dodging your dad. Just dodging those green texts from your dad.
Yeah, we're always blowing you up, right?
I'm like, Bill, you're so nice to me, but I just can't respond via text.
We'll start off. You brought up the green text. So you're an Apple guy, are you?
Yeah, I've been exposed. Yeah, I'm an Apple guy.
Always been that way?
No. I did all of my first recordings and stuff on it was probably a fucking Asus or something like that. Just a good shitty maybe Dell laptop, and used to use a 4-track as an interface, and I had not that Apple it can't be shitty gear, but I had mix and match stuff for years, and then I got I finally drank the children's blood or whatever and got absorbed into the
that adrenochrome.
Yeah, now I just get up. I'm just direct updates. I'm fucking download. I don't care. I don't read anything.
All up to date.
Yeah, I just sign up for whatever that evil corporation sends my way.
Absolutely, yeah. Sign the terms and conditions.
Absolutely, if you will, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, good stuff, man. So I want to start way at the beginning here. Of course, we're going to talk about your music because there's plenty to talk about there. But dude, were you really in Spy Kids 3?
Yeah,
I was. Insane.
It's even stranger that that's a long time ago. I mean, right. I guess it is. Yeah, yeah. Right. I grew up here, and my mom is a actress and a director and a playwright. My dad did set and light design and stuff, and so I always grew up in the Mary Moody Theater down the street, and I started doing acting when I was little, and started doing Southwestern Bell commercials, which you don't even know what that is because that's really old. That's
idea.
I remember that
when they had telephones in the walls, in the walls.
With black and white TVs and dinosaurs and stuff, right?
Well, the world was in black and white at that point. And then it went to color around, the mid-70s?
I'd say, yeah.
I was a little before I was born. But.
With, what's the Yellow Brick Road movie?
Right, yeah.
Gotcha.
That was actually when the world turned into color. That was mid-30s, I guess.
Yeah. Good stuff. So you talk about being from Austin, man. With the era that we're in Austin right now, do you feel like a unicorn being an Austin local?
I mean, people say that, I feel a little people are wow, you're a unicorn. And that's strange. And I'm well, yeah, I mean, I guess so, because I know a lot of unicorns, I guess. Because I live with a lot of people that are from here.
Of course.
Not in one big house or anything, but there's a lot of, I know a lot of folks that are from here. And I mean, I guess this place is kind of like a unicorn now. I mean, looking out this window, I just see a big hole.
Yeah.
Where there's gonna be a huge.
I think it's gonna be a mid-rise, retail.
Crazy. Yeah, who would have thought that, right? A bunch of people living across the street from this place.
Mm-hmm. I was hoping it was gonna be a hotel. I was like, dude, that's good for business right there.
Oh man, for real. Well, I just live on the other. You can almost see my house from here,
and
I've lived in this little neighborhood for a long time, and this kind of whole area, and this whole city. Now it is a city. I was thinking about how it used to be called Town Lake. My friends are in town, and they're like, what's the name of the lake? And I was like, it's Town Lake.
And now it's Lady Bird
It's not,
Lake.
It's Lady Bird Lake.
Yeah.
But I always thought Town Lake was just sick. It was
yeah. Super easy.
What do we call this? Lake. Town Lake. Dope. But now it would have to be called City Lake because this place is fucking blown. Do you guys know what the big Boomerang building even is? The big
Oh, the curved one?
Scimitar.
Yeah, that's a new Google building, man.
Oh, is that Google or is that Indeed?
I think it's Google, the one
Indeed's
that's right there.
Glass The third big glass one.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's right there on the river. They haven't moved into it yet, but yeah, that thing's insane.
Dude, I was driving down this road way up there, and I was like, oh, they set it up where you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Capitol's like this big, and there's just this big wang.
Yeah.
Like, the whole way down. You're like, wow.
It's insane, right?
But so, yeah, I mean, yeah, this town is, this place is as much of a unicorn as I am, I guess. When did this building open?
86.
86, so it's a year older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, we've been neighbors ever since.
Yeah, when did you start coming into the shop?
The first time I ever kind of like waddled in here, I don't even remember.
Did you waddle? Like
I'm sure, yeah. Well, because Saxon Pub's been here for forever, and I'm sure I came here as a kid at some point with some, semi-drunk adult. And yeah, I think what my first guitar lessons were, I took it like a month of guitar lessons. I started playing basically as sort of a weird revenge tactic in middle school, where like the first girl that I dated, I found out she ended up cheating on me, which meant she like kissed some dude over the summer or whatever. and I had this big like revenge tactic she really liked guitar players, and I was like, I'm not very musical, or I had just sort of sold myself downriver that I wouldn't ever play anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then she liked guitar players, and I was like, I know, I'll be this giant like ripped guy. I was like, I'll start lifting weights and playing guitar. And then the guitar kind of worked, and the weights didn't really take, but I figured out how to do that over the summer. And then my mom was like, do you want lessons? And I was like, sure.
It's almost like with everything, but especially music, it's like emotional trauma is just the best motivator, dude.
It's the best. Don't try it at home. Don't. I mean, I guess it's better than other things.
Right.
Like if you get emotionally traumatized.
Yeah, trauma is a broad term, right?
Sure.
A girl kissing another guy over the summer.
Functionally, emotionally traumatized.
For sure.
Middle school, emotionally traumatized.
Yeah.
Which is,
exactly. Do you ever, being a songwriter, sometimes I like to ask, do you ever like find yourself like putting yourself in situations where you're like, well, this might not work out well, but it'll screw me up enough to come out with a really good song?
Yeah, I try and urge myself not to do that, because I feel like that was a really bad habit, or it is a bad habit. It's hard not to do, but I feel like a lot of, especially like people who would want to play the guitars that are in this room, like old-timey heartbleedy folks are always like, oh, I know, I'll try heroin or something. And you're like, you don't have to, like, you probably shouldn't. It seems like that's a pretty bad, doesn't seem like it really works out that well.
It's definitely extreme,
yeah.
you could say.
But that was like a thing where it was like, I know, I'll drink a bottle of whiskey and like lock myself in a hotel room. And I bet out of the like demographic, I bet very few people actually wrote any good music by drinking an entire bottle of liquor and locking themselves in a hotel room. But the people who do, you're like, oh,
yeah,
that's a cool ass song.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you always hear about like, the ones that were able to get sober, like almost always their music gets better once they do.
Yeah, well, sometimes.
Yeah,
when they're able everybody else is like, wanker, no one likes your songs. Whatever. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But I think life is fucked up enough, and that you don't have to
make it worse.
Purposefully go out of your way to ruin your life to write good songs about it. There's enough horrible shit that happens every day. Just have to pay attention to it.
Go read a news article or something.
Yeah, just stick your head out the door and be like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I like that answer a lot. That's cool, because, a lot of times I get the answer back that they're like, yeah, I've kind of done that before, and I like how you went into the fact that, like, sure, but you shouldn't.
Everybody's done it. There's no doubt. And usually it's a pretty good, where you're like, oh, I am so stupid. I can't believe I got myself in this awful scenario with another person or whatever. And then you're like, maybe I get a song out of it. You're like, maybe the one thing I got was some sort of song, but, half the time it's also like, you suck. Broke my heart. People are like, that's a pretty good song, guys.
Yeah, so, right?
Yeah.
So you started off, if I'm not wrong, kind of like busking around Austin.
No, don't busk.
You never busked before?
No, I don't. That's that's a little bit more of lore, I guess. I hate busking.
Okay, interesting.
I think it's I think it can work. I know people who are really good at it, and
so then in 2011 you went on tour with Mumford & Sons, right?
Nope.
That's fake too?
That's fake too, yeah.
Man, you're so big you got fake news out there.
That's the plan. I wrote probably half of these fake things, I guess.
You started your own rumors?
Well, what's funny is like I'm also very anti Mumford & Sons, even though I play foot percussion and an acoustic guitar as well. They were sort of, unfortunately, they were like, I felt like they blew up the spot too much.
Yeah.
Like, you know, no hate to them because they're really talented people or whatever. But
absolutely,
at the time, there was definitely some sort of dorky, old-timey revivalist shit going down. And there were a ton of really crazy musicians that were doing stuff sort of in that vein. And then they kind of hit it super big. And I was just like, well, we're fucked. Like, this is the end for me. And I guess luckily it wasn't. But
how do you think you kind of like pushed through that?
Well, it was just, it was more so that what I was doing wasn't really based on anything. It's kind of a bunch of people came to the same conclusions at the same time of just sort of, I think, coming out of big pop, you know, kind of from the 90s into the 2000s, and then like really heavy indie music and that era of pop music. And I felt like I was keeping up with kind of everything new that was coming out at the time. And then I burned out on listening to new music and started to listen to like stuff from the 40s and before and Alan Lomax stuff. And then was like, oh, maybe I play some weird version of folk music. And I feel like a bunch of people kind of generationally at the same time we're doing that. We're like not playing 60s, you know, like Flower Child folk music. They started to go back to like a lot of blues revival stuff. And then that kind of bubbled out into the like Jack White stuff and whatever now the next turn of contemporary rock music is and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Post grunge, then we go pre-war. Now it's just like robot music, I guess.
Right.
Which I'm into. I like robot music. So.
Yeah. So now I'm like I'm gonna figure out like what's the lore and what's real. So.
But okay, so the both of them are basically the same story. I got asked. Mumford & Sons and Old Crow Medicine Show and Ed Sharp and the Magnetic Zeros were doing a tour that was called the Railroad Revival Tour, which sounds also very much like some sort of joke about 2012.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, everything was a revival and had a locomotive involved in it and, you know, a twirly mustache and shit. And like everyone was like, ooh, mixology, what's that? We'll make you a cocktail. Wow, ever tried an old fashioned? You're like, no. It was great. And so they did a tour where they were on a train, which looked fucking super duper fun. And I forget who did it, but there was like a Johnny Cash, the band tour that they did in Canada.
Okay.
That was the same concept. It was like Crosby, Stills and Nash, and someone's going to be like, no, it's not them. Whatever.
Right.
They did a train tour that looked like a fucking blast in the 70s, I think. And so they tried to do the same thing. And they went to... where now that Target and Whole Foods is, you know, the other Target and Whole Foods that's next to that Target and Whole Foods, the one that's like, it's right on.
Yeah, Austin, the home of Target and Whole Foods.
We could just call it Target/Whole Foods, Texas.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like over.
Off 35, right?
Like 5th, yeah, like you can see it from I-35.
Yeah.
Right there was just a big field for a while that during South Bys they would have. That was like where the Fader Fort was for a while. Anyway, they set up a stage there, and then every stop they did on that tour, they would have some sort of local artist fake busk at the gates to give it an old-timey vibe.
So this is what
So I got asked to be the fake busker. And I had this concept for that suitcase drum that I play, and I actually built that drum for that show because it was like they gave me a little bit of money to do it, and I was like, oh, I'm going to need some sort of outdoor percussion thing.
And is the tambourine, is that attached to the drum?
It is.
So coming from someone who has legitimately no rhythm whatsoever, is there years of practice behind you playing guitar and doing the kick drum and tambourine at the same time? Or is this like a God-given thing?
I wouldn't say years of practice because it's pretty lame practicing that in your house. It feels okay, but I typically like I kind of have to practice in front of people Because I'll sit around and you know, like there's been times when I mess with it, but I've always either been recording or something, or trying to capture it or play it in front of people. So I've been playing percussion and guitar maybe 10 years or something like that.
Years, that many.
Yeah, and I've gotten better and worse at both, and either at different points, you know, but it really, like, playing it with your feet and doing something with your hands that's different, like guitar or whatever, sometimes makes you better at both, because you get to kind of split your attention and play a little bit more instinctually instead of trying to just think about it all the time. So if I sit and play drum kit, if I start to think about what I do, I freak out. I start, like, my brain's like, take a fill. And I'm like, we don't know how to take a fill. It's like, take a fill, dude, you got this. And I'm like, you know, I'm like, yeah. It doesn't you're just show. Playing, sometimes you're like, yeah, and then you're like, oh, did I just do something cool? And so playing guitar, it's like you're focused on just trying to actually get the song out.
Absolutely.
And then it ends up being just kind of a little bit more like dancing. Like, you know, if you can do this, you could probably play drums with your feet.
Okay.
That's my guess.
I can certainly do that. I did try and play drums for a little bit, but yeah, my rhythm is just, you know, it's never been what I would imagine, like, the bass line would have to be to, like, be a musician.
I mean, you know, I guess I've always had trouble believing that people have no rhythm. It's just a combo of being nervous.
Interesting.
You know, like, and kind of talking yourself out of it.
Okay.
Just being like, I had no rhythm. It's like, it's okay. You just have to look like a butthole for, like...
Shakey Graves is telling me I can do it. Yeah, I guess I can do it.
Just don't be scared to look stupid a little bit, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. So, okay, Late Night with Seth Meyers?
Yeah.
How was that?
Late Night with Seth Meyers was...
Not as good as Sam Sessions with Seth Welker, I'm sure. But
no, it was super cool. It was at 30 Rock, you know, which is like, that was crazy. I got to go see the SNL set. It's on the same floor.
That's insane.
Yeah, that was...
Did you meet anybody really cool besides, of course, Seth Meyers?
Who was on that? I don't even remember who the guest was, so I kind of want to say no. I did, my favorite, I got to do Conan, and I also got to do Letterman.
That's insane.
And Letterman was my favorite because that was the last year he did that show. And one of his writers was this woman, Emily, I think her name's Emily Wolf. Or Wolfson. And she... I
want to say I'm familiar with the name.
She's got, like, bright red hair that's curly, and she's, like, a super loud comic. And she did, I forget what she did. She did, like, the press, like Obama's, like, you know, the National Press Dinner where they like roast. They usually like roast.
Yeah, the president. It's where they part or it's around. Is it around Thanksgiving?
Yeah, and I think she might have done the Trump one, which was insane, where it was like, and she just like railed. Anyway, it became big news because she just fucking like ripped him a new one.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, who's this person? And I was like, I met her once. It was pretty cool. But she had a big comedy special come out. She has like a really aggressive voice. But she came backstage and we chatted it up, and then Conan's terrifying. You know.
Yeah. So you felt a lot of nerves going on there?
Yeah. But always it's crazy because you just know that those people's jobs, as you know, interviewing people is weird, but you can't imagine doing it for 15 years, 20 years or something like that, where you just are on TV every night talking to
somebody
important people, you know, like whoever, and just probably being like, I'm not funny the whole time. Like anytime you hear them, they're just like, this is the worst thing. I suck. And then, you know, out there in TV land, I'm like, these people are amazing, you know?
Right.
It's got to drive you crazy. So I got big respect for the talk show host and the interviewers of the world. It's not very easy.
Yeah, that's very cool. And then you've won Best Emerging Artist Award in 2015.
I did.
Was that like
a long time ago too?
Yeah. I try and like find like, do you ever have any like I made it moments? Like, are any of those things kind of like, oh, I feel like I've really kind of made my name now?
Yeah, I mean certainly. But a lot of them, it's kind of hard to tell eventually. Just because like personal goals and stuff, like the first time that a random stranger knew my song in a different like state, let alone country, I was like, okay, this is fine. This is like, and then everything else is so surreal that it's like I can't really tell. I mean, playing Red Rocks was a huge,
which you're about to do again.
Yeah. But then that becomes a weird thing where I'm like, yeah, I played Red Rocks, but I feel like I can do better at Red Rocks. And then you're like, what? Like,
when's your show for Red Rocks next?
It's September 5th. It's like a million years from now, but it's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
We already have to, like, we're selling tickets right now. We're like, okay.
I can't imagine being on a stage like that in front of all those people. Do you feel the energy of everyone out there?
Yeah.
Is it like, so for example, I think I've told this before. When I graduated high school, I walked the stage, right? They called my name.
Mm-hmm.
I felt invincible, and that was for like 2 seconds, and people, you know, there's 3 people that were actually there for me, but I still felt like super invincible walking across that stage. Do you kind of get that feeling when you're on a stage like that?
No. Sometimes. But there's a healthy amount of nerves before you go into something like that. There's kind of no way that you shouldn't be a little bit freaked out. Yeah. But it's a little, you know, like I did theater for a long time as a kid, and it's like there's something that happens as soon as, it's almost like scuba diving or something, where you're just like, okay, or jumping off of something really tall, where it's like once you're past the lip of it, there's just really nothing.
Yeah, the point of no
it's
return.
Like, just don't hurt yourself, you know, like like don't do something, don't panic in midair, and you'll be fine, probably.
Yeah, most likely.
You never know. You could hit, you know, you could hit a fish underwater and lose a leg or whatever, but I don't know how far the analogy really goes. But
yeah.
There's plenty of shit that, and that's another thing, is like almost everything has gone wrong. Almost everything has gone wrong that can go wrong on stage. And
do you have like a memory of something like that just sticks with you?
Yeah, I mean, like this guitar I was talking to you about, this Gibson AJ, I had one of those that was my beloved guitar, and it had fallen off of something and hit the neck on the ground, and it made a little like hairline crack, you know, because of the vaulted neck. And I think I got it glued back down, and it was okay. It wasn't like too big, but it was a pretty legitimate, you know, crack. And then I got it reset, and then I forgot on tour, what gauge of strings I had on it, because some of my guitars have really heavy gauges of strings. And I was like, I think it was this one. And so I put strings that should not have been on the guitar on it. And I walked out in Chicago to a sold-out show at this place called Thalia Hall. And I was like, hi, my name is Shakey Graves. And I strummed the guitar, and the headstock of the guitar popped off of the body, and all the strings went slack, and I was like, I didn't even play a note, you know. It was like there wasn't momentum. It wasn't one song in and then like, it was like, hello, and the crowd was like, what do we do? And so I, in a moment of performance freak out, I ripped the head off of the body of the guitar and threw it in, pulled all the strings out of the body, threw it into the audience, and then I threw the body of the guitar into the audience.
Made the best of it, for sure.
And then later I was like, what the fuck did I do to my guitar? Like, I love that guitar so much.
Jeez, man.
And then the guy who got the body ended up bringing it backstage after the show, and he was like, I can't believe I had this guitar now. And I was like, yeah, it's your...
I can't take it back.
And then on the internet, I saw he put a new headstock on it, and I signed it for him and shit. He loves it. And I'll have to kill him at some point.
And
take my guitar back.
Yeah.
But, you know, like anything from that to just sound failing, people passing out in the audience, COVID, you know, it's like, it's there's lots of curveballs.
For sure.
And once enough of them happen, you're just like, you can kind of do whatever. The show is yours.
Got to roll with the punches at a certain point.
I'm glad that I don't run the kind of show that if something goes off, it throws the whole... Some people play to like crazy time codes, and you know, they have like everything synced up, and if one part falls out, the whole thing stops, or I don't even know what you do in that scenario. But
one of my favorite experiences I've ever had watching you play was I got to go see you at ACL Live, and I believe this was... This was a good while ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And one of the songs you played, before you played it, you kind of dedicated it to your mom, which I heard you already bring up in the interview. So is it pretty safe to say your mom's had a major impact on you?
Sure, yeah. Both my parents have.
Yeah, for sure.
And they definitely enabled me to like consider performing or the arts or whatever, basically whatever it can be a job and a passion. And, you know, life gets weirder when your passion does become your job, because business is brutal, like money and employees and pressure and stuff makes people do weird stuff. So having your friends become your coworkers or employees or employer sucks.
Yeah.
And will always suck. And having the thing that is like maybe your most sensitive, precious thing become like a commodity can be really hard to process. But I think I would still take those problems over the same thing in a different scenario.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Working at the Google Sabre building or whatever probably is also very hard.
Yeah, no kidding. It was so funny because I remember you played that song and about halfway through, you threw the guitar behind you and you pulled out a wooden harmonica. And you go, "I'm serious," and started just, going crazy with the harmonica. And that was a cool moment. And
I should never play harmonica.
Not a fan of you playing on that one?
No, don't play harmonica. I mean, unless you really can. I just met a guy from Iceland named Thor who plays the best harmonica I've ever heard in my life.
Is it that massive bodybuilder guy?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because I've heard of a man from Iceland named Thor, and there can only be so many.
I think it's a pretty common name there. Okay. More common than here.
Right. Because I think of Thor and I'm thinking Marvel movies.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the Norse gods matter a lot more in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
No kidding. Yeah. I remember at the end of that show at ACL Live, you finished, you closed out and everything, and you went to walk behind the wall where pretty much you were hidden from the audience. Mm-hmm. But I was sitting in a peculiar spot where I could kind of still see you. And as soon as you went behind that wall, man, you were jumping, like fist pumping in the air. I could see pure joy like radiating off you. And I must have been, 14 or 15 at the time. It was the first time I could really see someone who had like worked really, really hard for, many years. And it was almost like that payoff was just right there in that moment.
Was that our actual taping?
I believe so.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a big milestone. That's a very surreal thing that I, wish I hope to get another shot at that too.
Yeah.
Just because it was such a crazy, so many things in life are just so overwhelming that you don't even really get to enjoy them, which is fine. But.
Yeah, no kidding. I wonder, like, would it be possible to describe that feeling?
Yeah, it's just sort of like being blackout drunk a little bit. People tell you did shit, you're like, I guess I did do that. They're like, you don't remember that? I'm like, no.
That's an interesting way to put it. The last time I was blackout drunk, I got knocked the fuck out. So, I mean, I gotta imagine.
That can happen.
Yeah.
You can do crazy things on stage.
Mm-hmm.
I've stage dived into a crowd that does not want me to stage dive into them. You gotta read the room. And that gets a lot harder when you're in the mania of doing a show. Mm-hmm. I mean, playing music live is so weird because you can feel like you're doing super well. Mm-hmm. And then, like, the person mixing your sound can be doing terrible and no one can hear anything that you're doing. And you have no idea. You're like, we are just crushing ass. And everyone's like, this is a horrible show. And you're like, oh, yeah. Like, and the 5 people up front that you're paying attention to are, like, enjoying it or whatever. And then vice versa. Sometimes I walk off stage, I'm like, I'm going to go jump into traffic. And then people are like, I've seen 50 shows. That's the best one. And I'm like, all right, I don't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
I could imagine it's hard to gauge like the full reaction when you're up there in the zone playing.
Like, what was the day that you think you did the best last year? Just day. Just like woke up.
I had trouble remembering 12 hours ago. Maybe I've done like a couple stand-up comedy open mics.
Nice.
So maybe like, I remember I told the joke about, we might have to cut this, told a joke about sending a dick pic to my mom.
That's good.
Unfortunately not on accident. It was flaccid, it's not sexual. It goes into a whole thing. But, so I think I told that, it was like kind of like a 4-minute thing. I told that and it was like the best I did. So that's probably one of my tops. For
but
sure.
See, that's even still like, that's probably your best performance, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But like
in front of
whole day front to back is kind of how
right.
Kind of what I mean. It's like, because I'm not even sure if my best, like for instance, the best day that I have had probably did not involve me playing a show.
Interesting.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just relaxing, having fun.
Good fun. And usually there was like other stuff involved. It might even be recording or something like that. It does. I don't mean that it didn't involve music, but like performance and playing and living is all, it's all very strange. Sometimes I don't enjoy being on stage at all, and I'm still happy that I was on stage.
Of course.
Like, I'm suffering. This is a lot of work, I'm having a terrible time deep down, but the show's going really well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very strange.
And so many people are there to enjoy it, and that can kind of.
And that's the job. You gotta go out there and you gotta play in the key of G.
Yeah.
And make some, strange girl from Cedar Rapids cry for once in her life or whatever.
There you go.
Great.
There you go. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Man, what's the story of Willie Nelson asking you to sign Trigger?
Well, so that was an interview situation a lot like this, and I'm maybe a worse interviewer than you said you were. You're a good interviewer.
World's worst, baby.
No,
I got
don't
the
know.
title. It's trademarked.
I don't know. I got asked to do this. I got asked to do this thing during South by, and there's a Irish TV show called Other Voices. That's sort of their version of the Austin City Limits tapings.
Okay.
And it's really cool. It's like a music festival that happens in a town called Dingle that is on the westernmost coast of Ireland. And it's like a little just single intersection road, and a bunch, like 2,000 people take the town over, and they do tapings in this old church, and then they do a few around, and like Amy Winehouse had played it, a bunch of other people. Anyway, I got to go out and do one of these sessions, and flew to Ireland for like 72 hours and flew back, and it was really crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And they were so sweet, and they love Austin, Texas. The Other Voices people, and Ireland, it seemed like in general, was just like, oh, we can't wait to go to. They were really excited about South by too, and I was like, really? And they were like, oh, we can't wait. And I was like, great. And so they asked if I wanted to be one of the hosts of their like remote live from South by thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, totally, Like, all I have to do is just, like, blab a little bit and maybe interview some people. Mm-hmm. I thought it was going to be really easy. And so I basically did zero research and was just like, I'll just kind of wing it, I'll just go up and talk to some, like, really serious folk musician and not know anything about them. Anyway, it didn't work out really well like that. I had some of the craziest interviews with these people. And at one point, they were like, do you want to interview Willie Nelson? And because they had another guy that was supposed to show up, he didn't make it in time. They were like, you kind of know him? I was like, no. Like, I've played at shows near him,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm from here. And so I went out to his studio in Pedernales Studios, which is out like 40 minutes away from here. And walked into this building and didn't know what I was expecting, but he was just like in a chair, like walking a door, and he's just like right here. And he was recording 2 albums at the same time. That was like one of covers and one of like his old stuff, and like I sat in a room with him, and he played "You Were Always on My Mind" like right in front of me, and I was like, what the fuck? And then he played Whiskey River, and I was like, what the fuck? And he like was vaping and smoking analog weed at the same time, and then they were just like, okay, go on in, go sit in this chair next to Willie Nelson, and I was like,
okay. Did you get a contact high?
Yeah, but I was just like, I thought I was gonna be able to wing that interview too. I was like, Willie Nelson, no big deal. And then I was just like, hi, Willie, what's it like being Willie Nelson? And he was like, what? And I was like, oh my god, this is so stupid. But he could tell I was nervous, and this was like while they were setting the cameras up, and he's kind of hard of hearing, and so you have to like yell at him, which is
interesting to yell at Willie Nelson.
And he's so sweet. He's so nice. He has such a great, incredibly calm vibe, and his skin's really soft. And he's, he's like super old. And so you're like, oh, you're just priceless. He's like Yoda, and he could tell I was a little nervous. And he was just like, do you want to play Trigger? And I was like, no, but yes.
Yeah.
But like, I don't, like, I don't want to play guitar really for you at all right now. Like,
but you have to if he asks.
But what I was really interested in was actually just seeing this guitar, and I guess I wasn't really aware of how important Trigger is, and I have since become extremely aware of that, and that it's probably the most famous guitar on the planet.
I heard someone say it's going in the Smithsonian one day.
It would have to. I mean, I can't. I don't think that there's even a possibility that there's a more important guitar.
Iconic.
Well, I mean, it's literally, he's played it. It's his first guitar, or whatever. It's his guitar he got in the 60s, and he's played it at every show and on every recording,
Did you sign it Shakey Graves or Alejandro?
Well, so the whole thing, like, have you seen what it looks like up close?
Yeah, beat to crack.
Yeah, well, but it's all of it is signatures.
Okay.
So it's covered like
so maybe not beat to crack. Just,
no, it's literally covered like an old tree. So like the biggest signature on it is Roger Miller is written across the front of it, and then there's Waylon and all of his roadies and every single person that has every gigantic star on earth, and then all of these weird people that were part of his road crew. The back is covered, the sides are covered. It's basically entirely tattooed.
Yeah.
And then there's someone whose job is to keep that guitar together and re-lacquer it all the time, because they don't have replacements for it. And so apparently they bought. He plays a Martin classical with, I think it's gut strings, or maybe I think it's steel strings, whatever. And then he plugs it into a certain era of Roland J70 piano amp or whatever. I'm pretty sure it's a JC. And so that's what he plays his acoustic guitar through, and always has. And so that they have to go out and continuously buy the same, might be a Baldwin now, but they have to buy the same amps, and just like, because that's the one way that Trigger sounds, and that's how it always has.
Wow.
And anyway, I picked it up and was like, oh, I had no idea, and he's like, what? And I was like, oh, it's like an old tree, it's like a Lover's Lane thing. This is amazing. And he was like, oh, well, does anyone have a ballpoint pen? And like everyone was like setting up cameras and like stopped. And this photographer in the back, like threw a pen, and Willie caught it, and he was like, why don't you just scratch your name on in there? And everyone was like, what the fuck? And started like trying to get the cameras rolling, And I was like, what? And like all of his staff was like, what? Like, what, why? And I was like, what? And he's like, oh, here's a spot. And he picked me out a place like right here.
Oh, that's so cool.
And he was like, just scratch your name. He's got, you got to scratch real hard or it won't stay in there. And like, so I sat there with like priceless artifact and a ballpoint pen and was like, and I just did a little S and a G, and then like that little skull that I draw. And then I just kind of blacked out. I don't remember that interview very well,
That's insane, though, man.
And then everyone was like Freddie Fletcher was there, and he was like, am I crazy or did you just sign Trigger? And I was like, I think so. And like I saw Gary Clark Jr. at the Moody a couple months later, and he was like, hey, did you sign Trigger? And I was like, yeah. He's like, why? What the fuck, dude? And I was like, I don't know.
He's like mad at you for it almost.
Well, it's like the last person that did was like,
yeah.
I think Jack White signed it in 2010. Something like that. And then before that, it's like, it just doesn't really come up that much. And it's like, it's a gigantic honor. But that was just such an incredible, like, right place, right time. And of course my mom's like, it's because he loves your music so much. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think that's exactly it, Mom. But like,
do you know if he's ever heard your music before?
Yeah, he has.
Okay, cool. But it has to have something to do with it.
To a certain degree, but I think a lot of it was just really that it was a perfect combo of me being respectful of the instrument. Like, I'm not sure if I had picked it up and played like a hot lick at him, I bet I never would have gotten to sign that guitar.
Something gentle and sweet.
And I don't think that that's a thing. I don't think he was like, I don't think that's the test, is that like, if he gives you Trigger and you don't play, you get to sign the guitar. I don't think that's how it works. But it was a combo of like, I don't think he'd done it in a while. And he was just sort of like, I bet that would blow this little dork's mind. Like he was like, I know how to make this nervous musician with tattoos like sweat a lot. Check this out, Jared. You want to sign Trigger? And I was like, oh my god! And yeah, it was really cool. It's like that was a moment that I felt like I've made it just like in life that whatever I've done has gotten me to a position where I could do something like that. I feel like that a lot, where I'm like, I'm just kind of trying to get away with stuff, like life-wise, like going to New Zealand. Like I got to go like trip acid in New Zealand because I got to go play a show there, and then I was like, no one will notice if I bring candy. It's like maybe has stuff on it. I don't know.
A little piece of gum.
And then it's just like, just a piece of gum. But I'm like, I like to really pawn life experiences, like climbing a volcano, on somebody else's dime, just because I also get to go play music out there.
You got to make the most of it.
I mean, ideally, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
I'll yeah, and in that sense, I mean, my life is very surreal and really tough at times, but also just about as fun as it can get. To where if I croak from anything, it's definitely gonna be fun.
Yeah,
like,
there you go. That's the best way to go. That's the best way to go.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs that I've heard from you is "Kids These Days."
Oh, sure.
Do you have any kind of like background to that song? Like,
we actually started writing that song at Levon Helms's house in Woodstock, New York. And Levon Helms is like a huge influence on me, and his studio is amazing. He has this barn where he would do some of the last shows before he died. He did these things called rambles that I never got to go to one of them, but it was like he would sit in and all these, like Keith Richards would show up or whatever, and we got to do some shows there, and something that I set up, that was another like really fun thing that was just kind of an excuse, where we went and played a show, and then before that we stayed there for 2 weeks and wrote and recorded in his barn.
Wow.
And we got a house nearby, and so I just got to like live in Woodstock and go to the one restaurant in town every day, and like it was so sweet. And we honestly we didn't really, all the recordings that we made there, I don't think we used one of them.
Wow.
And it's still like one of my favorite recording sessions I've ever gotten to do, because I just lived in this beautiful, surreal, like hero of mine's building.
Yeah.
And we started writing it there, and it was because our buddy, this guy Marco Benevento, who's this insane piano, trippy producer, writer. He's like one of the craziest piano players, keyboard guys that I've ever met. He came out and started playing, and he brought us some like upstate New York edibles, because he's a big he's been stoned before a couple times, and he gave us these super intense edibles. We're like, this would be a great idea. We'll just record a little bit during the day, broad daylight. What could go wrong? And we all were just like playing music and having a great time, and then we'd stop, and I would just be like, like afraid. I was like, what am I so scared of? And like my guitar player was like, I don't know, what are we so scared of? I was like, I don't know. And so we started writing this song, that the original lyrics that we had to change because my label wanted to use it as like a single or whatever, that I was really mad about, because the song is supposed to start with the word, right now it's I'm too young to die, but it's supposed to be I'm so fucking high. Is it gonna last forever? Because that's what we kept singing. We were like, am I gonna be stoned forever? Like, am I always gonna be on edibles now? Like, this doesn't feel like it's ever gonna go away.
Yeah.
And
how long did it last? Was it one of those ones that lasted like
I think it was
more
just
than 6 hours?
normal edible time. But that was the essence of it, is that it started very much like a weird kind of shoegaze, like we're dived from New York City, sort of we're way too high on edibles song, and then turned into a song with more of a concept about just how everyone always feels like, I still feel like I'm like the young generation of whatever, and there's just no way, so every generation is like, we're the kids, and I bet that's just kind of how it will always be, like stupid old people. I'm like, I don't know. I guess I was talking about Southwestern Belle, so
yeah. Well, it's
what are you gonna do?
It was definitely relatable to me when I was listening to it, and I mean, I listen to it maybe once a day.
Wow,
it's definitely when I like start off, the shower with, Not to say I think about you in the shower or anything, but
no, it's all right.
It's a great song. It's a good like start the day off song.
You can say, next time instead of your mom, you can send me a dick pic.
There we go. Yeah,
that'd be great. Yeah,
I got the consent. That's
right.
On camera too.
That's consent.
That's on camera.
Flaccid only. That's all I want.
That's awesome, man. I noticed, there's a lot of haters out there, right? Especially on like YouTube comments and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I noticed going through all the comments of, your old songs, your new songs, like the one that was like super reoccurring was basically almost word for word. All of them was, whether it's new Shaky or old Shaky, like I always love what he puts out.
Wow.
And you don't find that super common when artists kind of start off with one, way of putting out their music and then kind of switch up their playing or switch up the way they sound. Were you nervous? Did you make a conscious decision to like change up your sound, or did it just kind of occur naturally?
I mean, the saddest thing to me is that became that had to be such a thing. Because when I first started playing, I was in really weird, shitty. I was in like a shitty screamo band, and not like that's like deep music or anything. But I my dreams of what I would do musically were always like stranger, more kind of leaning towards indie stuff or Built to Spill or lo-fi, basement shit or just kind of noise music, honestly.
Yeah.
And then I started recording at my house and just playing acoustic guitar more and recording in that area. So the songs that I made were, as much as they were intentional, they were also just like with what I had. And if I had some crazy band or a different setup, my first records probably wouldn't have been purposefully acoustic or purposefully anything. I was really just trying to get songs out, and I like them noisy and I like them whatever. But the funny thing to me too is that like I would write these when I first made my like home recording stuff and then put that out and then started to play with like the open tuning and the suitcase and stuff. There were a bunch of people that hated that were like this, why are you yelling? Like, why is this so loud? That's not what this record, like I'd give people my record and they'd be like, great, I can't wait to see you. And then they come to the show and be like, you yelled a lot. That was a really loud version of that song that I love so much that you did a really bad job of playing. And I was like, Jeez. But then a bunch of people at the show that would have never heard the record, then they're like, I love your show. And then they'd buy my record and be like, what is this wimpy shit? Like, where's... And I'm like, it's not, I don't have,
So I guess it makes sense. It makes sense that you would definitely see the hate, but it really stuck out to me because I can go watch any YouTube video and just see like, a bunch of shit talking. But...
Well, like 90 people could be like, this is my favorite thing. And one person is like, you suck. I'm like, I suck. Oh God.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I had to make a more concerted effort, or I guess in the sense of like when you put out a record that does sound different than the last thing you do, it's a low-hanging fruit to try and use that as sort of the thing that you write articles about or whatever. There's a lot of like sales that have to go into getting stuff out. And that was an obvious, whether or not you care, if you had been keeping up, you'd be like, this is very different. And I sort of lament it being so harped on because to me, I just listen to whatever, and I think it didn't need to be such a like, bye, old me. I'll never say hi to an acoustic guitar again because that's not what it is.
So I think now we've done this with everyone that's come on. We jump to like this or that questions, where basically I'll ask you like a quick question and just the first answer that comes into your mind.
Yeah.
Right. So like for example, Gibson or Martin.
Gibson.
Gotcha. Boots or tennis shoes.
Boots.
Cars or trucks.
Trucks.
Okay. City living or country.
Country.
Saw that one coming.
I don't do it, but
it's more fun.
It's definitely fun.
Edibles or smoke?
Smoke.
You're building a house. You want hardwood floors or carpet?
Hardwood floors.
So we always get that, but this is where I get you. What about where you're recording?
Hardwood floors with rugs.
Okay, interesting.
Rugs are dope. Also really expensive. I love carpet. I just fuck it up. I'm a baby. I'll like spit on it and stuff. Do crazy stuff. I shouldn't be allowed near it.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see. Would you rather, when you're getting dressed, would you rather be in style or comfort?
Combo.
Combo of both?
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, I love sweatpants.
Yeah. They're the best, right?
But I also am someone who's worn boots or dress shoes like for 20 years to the no help to my feet.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, oh, time to go for a hike? I'll put like loafers on.
Jeez.
What are you doing?
Yeah, not the best idea, probably.
Yeah.
Let's see. Blondes or brunettes?
Brunettes.
Okay. There you go. Do you like doing a small venue or big venue?
Small venue.
Why is that?
It's just louder, more interesting. I mean, big venues are nice for the anonymity, and it's fun to run around. But small venues are a good like 750, 500 to 750 cap room. Always kicks ass.
Sweet. You said trucks, Ford or Chevy?
Ford.
What's your top pick out of all of them?
Of all the trucks?
Yeah.
Well, I have a Toyota Tacoma that I
yes,
just
Toyota
got.
gang.
Yeah, I got
Let's
a Toyota.
go.
It's my first truck that I bought, but I drive a big, like, rapey Ford Econoline van that I've had for a long time.
Nice.
And so that's my shit. I love...
Yeah.
You didn't ask van, which would be my real answer.
Okay.
Because, you know...
I'll have to start throwing that one in there.
Yeah, the problem with trucks is that you have to have a fucking cover or...
Mm-hmm.
You can haul stuff, but I like to haul a bunch of random trash. That's like sensitive stuff. But a van, oh man, I can stuff so much garbage in a van.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. And spit on the floor and stuff.
Yeah, do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, all that good stuff. Cool. Scott, you got any other like this or that's? Hard shell case or gig bag?
Hard shell case.
After that Gibson went down, huh?
No, just gig. Gig bag.
Oh, like a PV or Fender. Like
PV.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. It would have to be Fender, but I fight hard for the PVs.
Yeah, it's rare to see that, but there's some people out there.
I like PV amps.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about PV guitars.
Right.
What about Jackson or Kramer?
Yeah, which one? Me? Considering I've spent zero time with either one.
Amen.
Kramer.
Wow, wrong.
Is that the wrong one?
I don't know. I go
Either way?
Oh, no, the Jackson.
All right, I got a good one for you. You might have to think really hard about this one. Okay. Guitar Center or South Austin Music?
Straight music? No, okay. South Austin music.
Yeah, good stuff. We got to throw in our own plugs in there at some point.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You guys got good swag, too. I like it.
Sweet, yeah. Well, we really, really appreciate it, Shaky. Like I said, this is one we've been looking forward to.
Oh, thanks.
And it was a whole lot of fun. And I think before we let you go, we're going to hold you here for just a little bit longer, if you wouldn't mind playing us a quick little tune.
Sure.
Sweet, man. Let's do it.
Ready or not, here comes the weekend, hanging around and talking a lot. I don't need a reason to tell myself I'll be alright. I hope that it's true. I'm already out for the night, why not make it two? Yeah, ready or not. Oh, here comes the wedding. You wear the white and I'll say why not? What are we forgetting? Tell yourself you'll be alright. Let's hope that it's true. Well, you're already one of a kind. Why not make it two? Yes, so ready or not. Yeah, here comes the funeral. You wear the black and I'll pick the plot. It's all so unusual, saying we'll all be alright when you know it ain't true. It's always a matter of time. What else can we do? We're already telling a lie. Why not make it two? But